Yeah, and that's good because a lot of girls will continue to blame other people instead of like taking that accountability.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
But before, the society was man-centric as well. Now it's woman-centric. If you think that, if you think through, actually back in the day, it was man-centric, and still there's a lot of power.
How would you say it was men-centric back in the day?
Because women, they would not have the right, to work. They would stay like at home, being a housewife. They would be mothers, and they had to clean, they had to cook, and shut up. They would never had the power to choose a lot of stuff. The men would. The men had to give permission. This is like back in the day. But
you realize they got to stay home and they got to not work. Like that's a privilege to be a housewife. That's a privilege.
That's a privilege for a lot of women out there, but not all women. I think everyone.
There's accounts of girls in the 1800s in the U.S. becoming like millionaires, self-made.
Yeah. Everyone is different. And just because we are women doesn't mean that we want the same thing. There's a lot of women, they don't want to have kids. There's a lot of women, they don't want to marry. And that's okay. And we need to accept that. Because just because you are a woman, it doesn't mean that you have to be a housewife. Because you are a man, it doesn't mean that you have to be a husband. There's a lot of people out there. This is not about gender. It's about humans. And humans are complicated and we are all different. And we have different wants.
Well, okay, so
and we have to accept that.
So I'm just gonna throw some numbers at you, okay? So the average person, no. So this is just, I think this is a reality that a lot of women don't know, and I think a lot of people think like you. And I don't fault you for that, but
okay,
you realize the average person needs 2.5 million to retire. So if you want to retire at 65 and you don't want to work the rest of your life, you need 2.5 million. So that means at 65, if you want enough money to not be, taken out by a cancer diagnosis or something. And you can't do that unless you make, I don't know the exact number, but it's about 6 figures or more. And you need 2 incomes to do that. And another thing that people don't know is that women that don't have kids and don't get married, they're statistically one of the most unhappy groups.
But it's their choice.
No, I
and
agree
we
with
should
you.
not judge.
No, I'm not. It's not judging. It's like giving girls the information, because we a lot of times in society we'll say, "Oh, don't judge. Like, do what you want." And I'm all for that if a girl wants to do that. But if you end up homeless and alone, I don't think you're going to be very happy. And a lot of women are heading towards that because they're not prioritizing family.
There's a lot of men as well doing that. There's a lot of men now, they are probably going to places or not, and they don't want a girl. They don't want they want girlfriends, actually. They want wives.
Yes, they do.
Exactly. They want wives in plural, not single. They don't want a wife. They want wives.
Well, okay, so
if that makes sense.
Another stat that a lot of people don't know is that it's a very small percentage of men that have access to all of the women. So when women talk about 80% of women, if you ask them what they want in a man and what they would need to marry a dude or be with a dude, they list 20% of men, and that's on the high end. Sometimes it's 5%, sometimes it's 10%, sometimes it's 15%. So the men that you're talking about that want 3 wives, the majority of men would be happy with any wife. They would just be happy with anyone, because the majority, 1 in 3 men under 30 haven't slept with anyone in the past year or are virgins. Yeah. So men, but the thing is, men historically have been lonely. Like men historically don't always reproduce, because historically only 40% of men reproduced where 80% of women did. So like that's normal for men. I'm not saying it's okay or right, but that's normal throughout history. What's not normal is telling women to chase the bag, prioritize a career over a family, and then now she's 60 alone and homeless, and all because she was given the wrong advice.
Yeah, she's homeless.
Yeah, because you need 2.5 million to retire. So if you're let's say you stay by yourself and you make it to 60 or 65, okay? And you get a cancer diagnosis, that will put you on the street. Or you get, you have too much debt. The other issue is that women own the majority of debt. So I don't remember the exact stat, but it's 75 to 80% of debt is owned by women. So this is the path, and half of women over 30 are single and childless, and 90% of your eggs are gone by 30. So the path that a lot of women are taking is to be homeless. They're the largest growing number of homeless population.
But not just women as well, men.
Oh, no, men too. But the thing is, women have a choice. A lot of men don't. Because a lot of men are short, they're unattractive. Like that's just, I'm not saying just.
But it is scary for women as well to create a family in these days with these kind of men. There's a lot of men are behaving like women, and women are behaving like men.
Right.
So we are chasing the bag, yes, because we met a lot of men. They are just like fuck boys, and they just wanted. They pretend to lure you in with, presents and love bombing.
But you realize, like, we choose the men that are fuck boys. We choose them because we overlook 80% of men. We overlook there's a
So how many fuckboys in your percentages,
how many what?
Do you know how many fuckboys are out there?
Well,
and many good
So
guys are there.
When I think
let me know. I'm interested.
So
let me know where.
When I think of a boy, I think of a guy that's talking and sleeping with multiple girls, right? Would you say that's what you would define as
okay. I had a boy who was only sleeping with me, but
okay.
And he you wanted to because he was spending 24/7 with me, so definitely he was only sleeping with me. No ménage à trois. No threesome.
How was he?
Yeah, I need to know this.
No, the behavior, because sometimes, for example, we would go out and he would try to make me jealous or playing like mind games.
Oh, okay, so he's crazy.
So he's not okay, so boys pretty people. Only that.
When I think of a fuckboy, I think of a guy that's sleeping with multiple women. Like that's because when I
but he was a boy before he met me. He told me like he was every other girl every weekend.
Yes. So what I'm saying is there's a very small percentage of men that have the opportunity to do that. So for example, if you want a guy I'm 6 foot, I would prefer a guy that's taller than me. If I want a guy that's taller than me, that's 15% of the population. Let's say half of those guys are broke, because let's say half are rich, half are broke. That's another half. That's so half of 15 is 7.5%, right? So that's 7.5% of you're looking for. And it's probably even smaller than that. So what I'm saying is we pick, and that's a superficial thing, right? Looking for height, that's it's okay. I like it too. I'm not
Me too.
no shame. I get it.
It's like a rock, you can climb.
But me and you, if we wanted, we could pick a short king that would be faithful to us, but we just choose not to. So I can't put it on the men if we're the ones picking those guys and we're all picking the same guys.
Yeah, it's like you're blocking your own blessing, really, by overlooking what you might not go for what you would normally go for. So we kind of like hindered ourselves.
Yeah. And so I have a lot of empathy because I think a lot of girls don't know this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's this thing being pushed on social media, and it's like the sort of like hookup culture and the sort of advice that girls are given that they should go out and experiment a lot and sort of like get to know what they like. And I feel like by the point that you finish feeling like you got to know what you like, you actually got to know what you don't like. And by that I mean like you experienced things that left you traumatized and left you with a lot of baggage that you're gonna take onto your next relationships, like and take it out on guys that don't deserve it. Like I've personally experienced this in the sense that one guy like turns out to be a boy, and then like I just feel like this need of like revenge for like the rest of like the male population, and like I feel like it's a natural thing, and like obviously I know that it's not it's not valid, and like I've worked through that, but in that way I feel like that did harm me, and sometimes I wish that I wouldn't like have bought into that, like, oh, just go out and get to know what you like, because you don't really need to, like, it's I think it's more harmful.
I guess we actually focus on the minority that actually posts in social media, that, and then we relate with all of them, like, oh my gosh, she's a girl, she had this case, I had the same, I'm feeling her, and like we all like generalize that the whole world is like that, is negative, everyone is just bad, just by focusing on the minority that are highlighting their experiences over social media. But we forget that there is a majority that maybe are not like that, and did not face whatever these people have faced, right? And maybe there are good people somewhere, but just because we focus on what is superficial, as you said, and we focus on these people that maybe we can relate with them, maybe when these posts come out on your feed and be like, oh, have you been cheated on? Have you been blah, blah, blah. We just focus on that instead of focusing that maybe we have other people that are good and haven't had that and can't harm me either. So that's how maybe we just look at the negative side instead of just we just overlook at the negative side basically instead of just looking at the bright side.
Yeah,